Hey everybody, it's Vanessa, the Crafty Gemini, and I'm here in my garden. I just wanted to put together a quick video showing you how I transplant my tomato plants from starts, which I've grown from seed. They're a little crazy right now because I planted them super early. So I started these from seed on Christmas Day 2019. It is now the first week of March 2020, and you can see they're doing great. A lot of these are actually even flowering, meaning they're ready to put out some tomatoes. So I went ahead and did one row here yesterday and planted about 12 of them already, and I'll show you a clip of that. But now we're going to go ahead and put in another 12 more. So I'll show you how I plant them. I have this area here covered, kind of mounded up with wood chips. I'm going to kind of scoot the wood chips back so I can access the actual ground. I'm going to dig a hole. And tomatoes tend to like being transplanted. So another cool thing about them is that you can plant them super duper deep. So even if the plant is this tall, I'm probably going to plant it in the ground somewhere here. So all this, I'll remove all the leaves and I'll show you how I do that. And it will put out roots in this entire area and the part that already has the roots currently. So I'm trying to dig maybe 8 to 10 inches deep for this one. I can always audition it. This is a Superboy tomato variety. So I'm gonna pinch off any of the little leaves. I just throw them in the hole and let them compost there. Why not? And I'm gonna leave it right to here. So all of this I want under the ground, okay? So that's gonna give me about 10 or so inches. So we'll audition it. I'm just gonna squeeze to get this out. And then I like to tease the roots a little bit, not by yanking on them, but by rubbing, just to kind of get them out of this squared up shape so that when they're in the hole, they'll start to kind of reach out and establish the plant. I'm just gonna audition it to see if the hole is deep enough. And up to here, that's pretty good. So before I drop it in there, I'm going to go in and put just a little scoop of this Espoma Organic Garden Tone. I've just started using this past season and I've had really good results, so I'm going to keep using it. Just a little scoop right in the hole. Mix it in a little just with the dirt that's already in there. My roots are nice and teased out. And then we'll drop it in. And then I'll backfill it in. First, I backfill with the dirt that I took out from the hole, and then I'm going to cover it back up with the mulch, which is the wood chips and the hay that I've had here. And I do like to kind of press it down a little bit to just hold the plant upright like this. All right, cover that back up with some mulch, and that's one plant down, ready to go. Alright, so I've gone ahead and planted a whole row of tomatoes. After they're in, I make sure to go in and label them. This one is Amy's Apricot Mix. I believe that's a little cherry tomato variety of like yellow, orangey, different colors. Then I'm going to go in with some just water, plain water. I bought this thing at Harbor Freight, and it holds 1 1/4 gallons max, and it's pressurized. So like you pump, it puts in the pressure and then the water, and that way I can just take it with me since I don't have access to a hose right here in this area of the garden. So I'm just going to give them all a really, really good drink. And I'll just go plant by plant, boom, 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 till I'm done giving them all a really good watering in. Especially if it's not going to rain. Sometimes I plan ahead and I will transplant plants the morning of, the day of, sometimes even while it's drizzling rain. And that way, you know, if it gets rainier at night, they'll get a good drink that way and I don't have to manually water every single one. But just give them a good drink after you put them in the ground. And then we'll wait and see. Now, all the varieties that I've planted here are what we call indeterminate varieties, meaning they vine and they tend to grow and not stop. So they need to be trellised or held up somehow. So maybe you've seen like tomato cages, these metal things that you put around the tomatoes. That way, as they grow, that kind of keeps them contained and doesn't allow the plant to flop around. You can see that this one is a little bit floppy, and that's because they were growing in a smaller 3-inch pot for a long time. That's why I like to plant them really deep. They need to get a little bit taller, and then I'll start trellising them up and helping to guide the growth of the plant upwards so that they don't just always stay flopped down. So I'll probably be doing that in a couple days this week. But other than that, that's it. You can feed them, you can fertilize with like compost tea, you can find tomato type fertilizers, stuff for growing fruit. And here's a quick update of what the tomato plants are looking like 4 weeks after I transplanted them. Both of these rows are all tomatoes. Every single plant has fruit on it. You can see they're thriving, they look good. Tomatoes. We have big, chunky varieties, and then I have several different cherry tomato varieties, as you can see. All the fruit on these plants. Now you can see that all the plants I have in these 2 rows, they are all indeterminate tomato varieties, meaning they need to be staked or trellised up because they're going to grow to an undetermined size, okay? And they're going to need the support of something to keep them from flopping over, especially once the fruit starts to come in, and the bigger the tomatoes, the more weight it's going to have. Like these guys should be between 12 and 16 ounces each tomato. And then you see all the flowers. This is going to have a bunch of tomatoes on it. It's going to be very heavy for that one stem to support. So you need to provide some support for your plants. And we have a ton of different options. This is what they call a tomato cage, and I have a few left over the years. Then for other ones, I harvest some bamboo from our property, and then I just use a thin elastic to kind of loosely tie the plant to the stake. And I keep adding and adding more elastic to continue to hold it to the stake as the plant grows up.